What is your personal non-negotiable for success?
The first thing that came to my mind was money. For me, like financial security is a huge thing. Not exactly having a lot of money, but being financially secure.
Welcome to another episode of High Stakes with Steve Rosenberg. I am your host, obviously, Steve Rosenberg. And today I've got a very good friend of mine. Well, we'll say friend, but for her, we'll say good friend. No, I actually have a very dear friend of mine, someone that I really appreciate her time and have had a lot of conversations with, and she's been around me for quite a while, and she still keeps coming around, so that must not be that bad. Ashley Kehr. Ashley, good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, thank you so much. I was a little confused about this because I didn't read the title of the podcast. Someone just mentioned it to me. I thought we were going out for steaks to eat, and I was
Well, depending on how you do, you may get a steak dinner bought for you, but we'll play it by ear on this one.
okay.
How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, so let's just get into this. Ashley, just give a quick 30-second flyby of who you are, what you do. Don't have to go too in depth. I don't need to see all your trophies and all your macaroni necklaces. Just kind of give everyone who you are and your personality.
I'm a mom of 3 boys.
All right.
So I'm a boy mom, and I invest in Buffalo, New York, long-term buy and hold rentals primarily. I have a couple short-term rentals, and I do about 1 to 2 flips a year. I am the podcast host for Bigger Pockets, and I do a lot of content creation for them around getting rookie investors started in real estate, or once they are started, how to continue to grow and scale and put systems and processes in place. So a lot of education around getting it started investing and how to actually do that.
Cool. Cool. So look, let's just kind of kick this off here. You've obviously came from another life and got into real estate as a result of that. Like for people that are watching, because everybody loves the idea of real estate. They love that word, but they don't really know what it means, right? So for you, like what was like a pivotal decision that made you say, not only am I doing this, but I'm freaking burning the boats and going all in on this business model?
Yeah, I was actually an accountant and I hated it sitting at a desk. And so I got offered a job by one of my childhood friends' dads, and he wanted me to be his property manager of a 40-unit apartment complex. And he had other businesses. He was an entrepreneur, and just seeing what he was doing, like even growing up, I was close to the family and I had no idea the amount of stuff that he had had. And I saw firsthand how he would refinance a rental property, use those proceeds to go and buy a business in cash. And that to me was just like, oh my God, wow. So that was kind of my aha moment into real estate. And I just became addicted. I went into acquisition mode. I took on a partner. We funded all our deals. I found out about Bigger Pockets. I was in the forums. I learned about seller financing. I got, in 1 year, I tripled my portfolio, and I just was growing, 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 which is amazing. It's great. But there is a downside to that. I was stuck in acquisition mode and I just wanted to acquire. I had this goal of 30 units before 30, and it burned me out. I got burnt out because I did not have systems and processes in place. I was not efficient in my cash flow because I couldn't even track my expenses properly as to quoting out my insurance. I was doing no asset management. I just thought, okay, I buy another property that's X amount of cash flow or more, and I just keep buying them and I'll be financially free. And that's not the case. Like there's a lot more to it than just acquiring units. And that took me some time, and I had to like stop, pause, reevaluate. I actually sold off a property at that point that I owned in cash just to give myself a nice buffer to take some time and really put those systems and processes in place.
So was I guess let me ask you this: was the decision like was it one of those rocky moments where you hit rock bottom and you're like, I got to climb out of this, or was it a financial thing? Was it just an emotional strain? Like what was that moment that you're like, okay, that's it, I'm making a pivot?
Well, we were dairy farmers, so not very lucrative there as far as like income potential. So that was a thing. And I was working as a property manager making $30,000 a year, not very lucrative at all. And so I just wanted another way to increase my income and to build wealth. As an accountant, worked on a lot of other people's books and did their tax returns for the short time I was an accountant. And I saw the power of like being an entrepreneur, having higher income potential, things like that. Um, but the real driver was that I had student loan debt, we had farm equipment debt, and I just didn't know any other way to really like significantly pay off that debt. I was also an avid Dave Ramsey follower, and I was like, I want to do the snowball method. And I did this backwards than most people would. I invested in real estate to use the cash flow to pay off my student loans and to pay off our debt. And for 2 years, that's where all of my cash flow went for my properties, was literally just to put in all of my income. We didn't use my income for anything else besides just putting it into paying off our debt. And we ended up paying it off in 2 years.
So you're now Ashley, the real estate investor. You are swimming in a new pool, we'll say. Um, what do you think is the biggest financial risk you took, and would you do it again?
Hmm. Okay. I don't know about risk.
Financial move? I mean,
Yeah, a financial mistake. Do you want that?
okay.
So there's two that come to mind. I got pretty comfortable for a little while as far as like, you know what? I'm like sitting pretty good. I need to start investing some of this money back into deals and start buying it more deals. So I got 3 under contract, and I didn't have enough to fund them all, so I started talking with people, and I got hooked up with a hard money lender that would do a line of credit. And I just did not ask enough questions of how this would work. And it was awful experience. And I spent so much money in fees that I should have just went and funded the whole deal myself, because it was just not worth it at all. And that was a really big learning lesson for me, was that I took on these 3 projects that were major rehabs at one time, where before that I had only done one, like would take on a major rehab project one at a time, wait till that was done, cash out, refinance. And I had lines of credit that, and I still use this today, that I have on properties that I fund them with. But I went out, got this hard money lender, and that was a really big mistake, and that financially wasted a lot of money going through the hard money lender, and a lot of time jumping through their hoops and their inspections. So that was one thing that I took on too much at once, where it backed me into a corner that I had no option but to go to these hard money lenders to actually fund the deals that I had gotten under contract and needed to rehab and keep moving on.
So, like, look, I think we both know hard money works, right? And you obviously are a host of a real estate show. What's the lesson you would tell someone moving forward on that if they wanted to do that? What would you say? Like, do this, however, know that. What is that?
Yeah, it asks questions as far as like, okay, how do you get the money? What are the fees up front? Like this was uh like a 1.5% fee on the line of credit. So like even if I didn't use the line of credit, I still had to pay $15,000 up front. And it was a 1.5 million line of credit, but every property had to go through certain steps and process and things. So I did not have a good understanding. I was just like, wow, this is great, $1.5 million. So I think really understanding the process of how you're funded. A really big deal was the communication. Are you going to be working with one person throughout the life of this line of credit? Or this was literally 5 different people. When we were closing on one of the deals, we were talking to somebody in New York, even though their office was out of Florida, and we did not close because they did not understand how title worked in New York, even though they were in New York State. And it delayed closing for 3 days because we were trying to get a hold of the other people I had talked to doing the loan. So a lot of miscommunication. So my advice would be, first of all, get referrals for the hard money lender you're working with or any lender, and then understand their process. What are all of the fees upfront that you're going to be paying? How do you get the money from the line of credit, or how do you get funded? What are the steps to get a draw for the rehab? What inspections are in place? What appraisals are required? And there was also, if I wanted to refinance and I did not use them, there was another fee that was tacked on
Wow.
at the end of it too. So it was, I mean, complete misguidance on my own part because I did not ask all of the questions and understand it. I was just excited, like, okay, I backed myself in this corner, taking on too much at once. I found a solution. Yes, let's go with it.
So let me ask you this. I think, listen, as we grow up, we all have a belief about money and hard work ethics. And we're, whether it's our parents, whether it's our surroundings, whatever it is, like, and sometimes as we grow up and we grow up into, adults, into our own world of what we do, we realize that sometimes we have false beliefs. Like those beliefs were not real. We made them up in our head out of fear. Maybe school taught us to be employees, whatever that is. Like, did you have any false beliefs about money that as you started getting into the entrepreneur world, you're like, wow, like I can't believe that was actually something that I thought?
Yeah, two things I guess come to mind. The first one was I did not, I thought for investment property, you can only buy it with cash because that's what the investor did that I worked for. So I had no idea that you could go out and get bank financing or somebody else would loan you the money. Like I had no idea about that. And we funded our first 3 deals in cash by like, my partner took out a home equity loan on his house. He used his cash savings. So that was like one limited mindset I had about actually funding a real estate deal. Was I thought it had to be in cash and thought that for a while. Um, I guess the second thing too is that I had a hard time once I became a real estate investor and was investing, the balance of leverage compared to equity, as far as like, okay, you have all of this equity sitting in a property, you should be using that, not letting it sit and using it to buy more properties. But over time, I realized I like to actually have less properties with more equity and not be over leveraged. So, and that was something, like Instagram gurus, and
Yeah.
it obviously has worked very well for people. But I think my biggest mistake was getting off track what my money goals were and what my why was. So, I knew at first, like my first goal was to pay off debt, and I did that successfully. But then I really got into, posting on Instagram, getting involved in Instagram, seeing what other people are doing. I got involved in Bigger Pockets. Now I'm the podcast host. And part of the reason of me buying those 3 big rehabs was I need to be doing more. I need to set an example. I'm the podcast host. They're gonna fire me if I and nobody's gonna want to listen to me if I'm not doing bigger and better deals. But honestly, I'm probably more relatable because I'm a small investor. I'm not
Sure.
large scale. And so a lot of those mindset shifts I had to make and stay focused on what my money goals are and what I want out of real estate. And if I stay focused on that, that really is completely different from when I was kind of in the trenches of it, in the middle of it, thinking that these other things were expected of me
Well, I
and
think
needed.
it's funny you say that because to me, it reminds me, real estate is a business, right? And, you can over leverage a business. You can do all the things. Same thing with you. You can get too many markets, open up too many offices,
Yep.
whatever the case may be. But I always tell people, like, until you have actually been the person that lays your head down at the pillow at night with all that stress
Yeah.
and all that headache thinking, fuck, I created this. Like I caused all this because I wanted this. And I always remember, and I know this because I did this in real estate and we had, 40 something properties and they weren't going well. And I remember thinking like, I caused this, like my ego of wanting to do this caused this. And I thought to myself, God damn it. Like, why did I do this? And now I have to figure out how to get out of this. Like, I turned the screw into the hole. I have to figure out how to get it out of the hole now. And no one's going to help me. Like, you've got to figure it out on your own. People can say, like, oh, Ashley, sorry you over leveraged. Sorry you're losing everything. But then they're going to go off and live their life. And I remember that with me
Mhm.
in my business. Like, people don't realize until you've been in that seat and you've actually put your head down at the pillow going, what am I going to do? And you wake up with the same problem you went to bed with. It is not a good feeling. It sucks. And it's self-induced. I guess that's my point is I caused it to happen. And I don't know if you ever had that feeling, but it's like, God damn it. Like, I caused this. I was fine
Yeah.
before. I made this. I put myself into this position.
Yeah, and I've caught myself close to that same position again, like getting excited about deals or feeling the pressure to do more. And I think about that time and just the stress of money, the not, being able to sleep well at night, like not being
Yeah.
connected with my kids or having quality time with them because I was just working so much. And so then I kind of like, okay, slow down. Like,
Yeah. So let me ask you this. When it came to you having to say, okay, I'm making this decision, like what was it that, like, what did you tell yourself? Like, to say, it's kind of like, I use it like, if somebody says they need to lose weight, right? And they're like, I need to lose weight, I need to lose weight. Well, then when they go put their pants on and they can't button it, now they're like, okay, shit, I really need to lose weight. Like, did you have a moment of that where you're like, that's it, I'm done, I'm fixing this? Or was it a slow fix?
I would say it was more of a slow fix, but it was constantly me telling myself like, do you remember what that feeling was like when I was good. I would like had built up a bunch of cash, my properties were doing great, but then I all of a sudden felt that urge I need to do more. Like kept thinking back to that feeling, how nice that comfort was. I wasn't super rich. I didn't have everything, but that feeling, that peace, and that's like kind of what brought me back on track. And now anytime I get shiny object syndrome or I think of like, you know what, I try to jump to another deal before I'm done with the first one, I think think about how you felt at that time, how wonderful that feeling was. And as much as I love to leave emotions out of real estate investing, I really do care a lot more about how something is going to impact me emotionally. Like, I do not handle stress well. I do not like to be stressed out, and I would rather take the smooth, easy way out and spend a lot like quality time with my kids than become a billionaire. It is too much work for me to become a billionaire. I could not handle the levels of stress that come with building an empire about that. And at first I felt like awful to admit that. Here my friends are setting these goals to own 10 billion in real estate in the next 10 years and there's me like, ugh, that sounds exhausting. Like I'm headed to football practice with my kids.
So let me ask you this. So when it comes to family and comes to your kids, like what do you want them to remember you as? Like, what do you want to be known as when your kids talk about you when you're not around?
Mhm.
Like, who do you want to be to them?
Here is the best test for that is have them fill out like one of those forms. Like they just one of my kids just did it for Mother's Day and it's like my mom likes to, my mom does this, and they have to fill in the blank. So these fill in the blank questionnaires thing. So like my son, for example, he said my like one was my mom laughs when, and he wrote my mom laughs when I flare my nostrils. Okay, but you will get a good sense of what your kids like see you as, and like
Sure.
some of it, like my one son put, my mom will cry when she gets yelled at. And we're thinking, like, is this like what a tenant is upset about something? This is what he sees me as. So I, for me, it is that I want them like other things where that they put like my one son loves movies. He's into the Star Wars right now. Now going into Pirates of the Caribbean, like loves to watch trilogies. And that was one thing of like he put my mom loves to watch movies with me. My mom likes to play with me. And like honestly, I don't enjoy play. I don't. But I want my kids to know that I spent quality time with them and that I was engaged. When I first started working as a property manager, I worked from home after I quit my accounting job and I started to have kids and I had my own portfolio and I worked so much when they were very little that I was not present. And with working from home, I would be on my computer, they'd be playing on the floor and they got no quality time with me.
Right.
None at all. And my mom guilt me so bad as to like they're only going to be young once. I will say I do not regret it. I don't regret it because now when they're 8, 9 and 10, I have so much quality time with them. Like
Sure.
I it is unimaginable compared to a lot of other parents I see with their kids.
Yeah.
They're only going to be that age once too. And honestly, I would rather be present when they're going to remember it than when they were little babies and don't
Let
remember
me
it.
ask you this. What do you think is the best skill set that you could teach your kids? Like if there's other moms out there that are aspiring to, whether it's real estate or whatever, like what would you say is the most important thing for you that you want to impart upon your kids?
I've been listening to a couple podcasts with AJ Osborne. He had on this guy that
AJ,
talked about
who?
he talked about money management with your kids. And I think that, like, because he said, everybody says, why don't they teach that in schools? Why don't they teach that in schools? And he's like, you should be teaching it in your own home as a parent,
Yeah.
as to, you get a chunk of money, you pay taxes, you pay your rent or your mortgage, you have to save. Like, this guy I can't remember his name, but he even talked about, like, if his kids go to a birthday party, so they can earn money at home and stuff. And he said they go to a birthday party, that is coming out of their money to buy the gift for their friends because they have to learn in life. If you want to go to do something fun, you're paying for it one way or another.
Sure.
And I just thought like that was actually something I thought really valuable besides like being nice, kind people.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think another big thing is also regulating their emotions. And I read a lot of stuff about like parents being, reactive to like they spill something and then you like freak out like, oh my God, and blah, blah, blah. And then so they automatically build their emotions to like to expect to engage that way, like that's going to be the reaction. Then they learn how to react. So
Yeah. I-
emotional regulation, which starts with the parent regulating their emotions, which my generation never learned any of that
Right.
from our parents. And then also money skills, I think, will become so useful in life. Like, yeah.
Let me ask you, and this is just a thing I'm thinking. What would you want your kids to do when they grow up? You ever thought about that? Like, what would you say? Like, I want my kid. Now, you may think, okay, Maverick's going to do this because he's good, and they're going to do like you may say which ones are going to do. Remington's going to do this, but like, what would you want them to do?
So that's funny you asked that because I was thinking about this the other day, especially with Maverick. So Maverick is the one that likes to stay on the farm, never travels with me, nothing, and builds motors. Like if you need your oil changed, he's your guy. Okay, he's 11, and I honestly could see him dropping out of high school to run the dairy farm and to work on tractors all day. And I think about that as to like, oh my God, like, and his dad, like his dad, I bet would let that happen. And I think about like, what would I do? But then I also think about what, why is the reason that I would want him to finish school? Is it because that's what society expects? Is it because it's going to make him more successful in life? And those, so like, I have to say that's a really good question because like obviously being a farmer is a hard life,
Sure.
and do I want that for him? But like his dad never has once complained his whole entire life about anything, nothing. And he is happy, he is content, he likes what he does every day. And so it's like, where is that? As me as a parent, what are the things you should care most about? Is it your child being happy, But what if the wrong things make them happy? Or what if they're only happy for a certain amount of time and not like later on they regret it all because they went backpacking through Europe and now they have nothing and they want to start a family, but they made the wrong decision. So my
So
youngest, he wants to be a real estate investor. He's like, I'm not working. I'm buying houses. I'm gonna rent them out. Like he's like nagging on me to buy him a property.
that's funny. So, you know, you said something that I think is interesting, like what we perceive someone needs, right?
Mhm.
Right. We think like they all should be successful, right? And it's our own lens of success. And I'll never forget when I was, traveling and flying, I was in Bali and I used to go there all the time. So I had a driver. And one time I took my parents to Bali and I got to become really good friends. Like this guy would actually, we'd go fishing out in the Red Sea and we'd go do a bunch, or the Coral Sea, and we'd do a bunch of stuff and just became really good friends. And in Bali, each village has a craft. So one village does wood carvings, one village does jewelry, one village does sarongs. So his village did sarongs. So he says, "Hey, I'm going to take you to my village, and you guys can get some sarongs and meet my wife and my kids." So I got my parents with me. So we're going. And so my dad says, "Oh, like, he's asking about where he lives." And he says, "Oh, we don't have electricity. We have a generator and we don't have running water. We have a well." And we're like, "Oh, that's cool." Like, what do you say? You're like, "Oh, good for you."
Yeah.
And he goes, he says, don't feel bad for us because you think we're poor. He said, because we're rich in our hearts.
Mm.
And he said, we sometimes look at Americans and think that we feel sorry for you guys, or not Americans, but he said, first world, like he goes, because you have bills, you have pagers, you have phones, you have problems, you have headaches. He goes, we don't have any of those. He goes, our biggest concern is, okay, what did we have to catch to eat tonight? Or what do we have to grow? But he goes, that is our only problem in life. And so you're sitting there thinking, I feel sorry for you. And he's sitting there saying, we actually feel sorry for you guys. And so it says that, like you said, it's a perspective where like, you guys should be like, you should take this sarong business and start putting it online, and you should start getting websites and all this stuff. It's like, for what? So you can have time off to go spend time with your family. He's like, I do that now. I don't need that. So it's just an interesting perspective that you say that, where
Yeah.
you may think you should be doing this. And he's like, why? Like, that's like, I enjoy that. So it's a deep question, right? That I always ask people, because it always makes me curious.
Yeah, and I think that like goes along with the money aspect. Like if even if my child doesn't go out and make a ton of money, like if they have good financial and money skills and they live below their means and they know how to manage their money and save and invest and you know not blow everything or get into debt or anything like that, then like they can live a really great life. Like somebody's definition of wealth is basically a perception of what they see as wealth as far as like what that wealth can buy. And someone could say, oh, they're wealthy, they have a yacht. And someone else can say, oh, well, I'm wealthy. I have 5 times the amount of my income in my bank account. Like I have 5 years that I could go without working, but yet that's maybe only like $200,000. And they could say, well, yeah, I'm wealthy. I have 5 times my salary in a bank account. So, like, I think the definition of wealth and what is successful is very perceptive.
Agreed. Okay, so as we wrap this up, I've got a couple fire questions for you, fire round. And here's what I want you to do though. First thing that comes to mind,
Oh,
I just
God.
want you to say it. Okay. Don't get into this thinking mode or any of that bullshit. I just want you to say whatever comes to mind. You ready?
Yep.
All right. What is your personal non-negotiable for success?
The first thing that came to my mind was money.
Okay. Non-negotiable.
Yeah, I would say like for me, like financial security is a huge thing. So like
Okay.
not exactly having a lot of money, but kind of like what I just said about like being financially secure where I I okay, like I think a lot about if I had a big health problem or something, like a huge financial burden from a medical necessary surgery or something like that, being able to take care of that and not worry, I guess.
Okay. Um, So based on that, would you rather lose time or money?
Money, because I
Okay.
can use time to make more money.
All right. What book changed your mindset forever?
The first book that came to mind was this book by Steve Rosenberg. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a great book. You should get it. Everybody should get that book.
What is it? Like Building Your Empire?
Failing Our Way to Millions. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
The index card, it's called, and it's about like here's the 5 simple ways to invest, and it's like not as like difficult as you would think it would be.
Okay. What is either business or personal? What's your current obsession right now?
Business or personal?
Yeah. What are you obsessed with?
I really want to take my kids to Europe on a trip, and I have every flight tracked. I have every newsletter sent to me about how to plan the perfect trip. So I would say that, or spending quality time at our lake house, maximizing like if the weather is nice, no matter what, we're driving out there.
Cool. All right. Last question. What scares you more? Failure or wasted potential?
Failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I don't care that much if I don't live to my full potential.
What about your kids?
They're like, that's another thing with my son Maverick. Like he's so intelligent with building things. He built a 3-wheeler from scratch, blah, blah, blah. And like, wow, you have the potential to make millions inventing things or building motors, being an engineer. But I know that would not make him happy, and that's not what he would want. So no, I don't think he needs to live up to his potential.
All right.
Are these like right or wrong answers?
No, there's they're totally wrong, but that's okay. I mean, I don't, whatever. It is what it is. No, there's no right or wrong. I'm just curious. So, look, Ash, it's always great to see you, and I appreciate you coming on, and I want to value and respect your time. So, if somebody wants to like get a hold of you, talk to you, get some parenting tips or some cow milking tips,
how did this turn into a parenting podcast?
Oh, God.
Not what to do.
Yes, all the mistakes I've made.
So someone will play this podcast back in 10 years when one of my kids is in jail, the other one's selling drugs. Like, oh, well, listen to Ashley.
How'd that work out for you, Ashley? How do they get a hold of you, Ash?
You can find me on biggerpockets.com. Search my name, Ashley Kehr, profile there. You can message me there. Also on Instagram at Wealth from Rentals. And I wrote the second best book next to Steve. It's called Real Estate Rookie. And you can find it on biggerpockets.com in the bookstore or on Amazon.
Awesome. And anyone who's listening or watching, something I want you to think about right now, if someone is stuck in survival mode, just ask yourself, like, what's one bold move that you need to make today to change, right? Just one bold move. Like, it's not, you don't need to move mountains. It's just turning the steering wheel just a little bit. Because, when it's all said and done, you got to ask yourself, what do you want to be remembered for? Right. Because at the end of the day, 80 years ago, not even that long ago, J. Paul Getty was the richest person on the planet, right? Richest. Most people don't even know who he is today.
Like Getty Images?
What's that?
Getty Images?
Well, yeah, that's one, I guess. All right, it's time for you to stop talking, Ashley. And no, Ash, it's great to see you again. And just like I said, I really appreciate your time, and awesome watching you on your journey. Obviously, if you guys want to follow her, she's a host of a great podcast show, Real Estate Rookie Podcast, which I've been kind enough to be asked as being a guest a few times. So that was pretty cool.
One day we'll air one of those episodes.
One day, one of those episodes will come out of the archives, and you actually will air them. So, Ash, thanks a lot, everyone. Thanks for watching another episode of High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg, and we will see you next time.